So DeMar DeRozan re-signed with the Toronto Raptors this week. And in a heartfelt speech, he said, "I am Toronto." And the Raptors franchise continues to grow globally, and they're there at Summer League. They're the number one ranked team, eating teams alive right now. Norman Powell was compared by Vince Cellini. I don't know if you guys know Vince Cellini with NBA TV. He's been around forever. I remember him in the early to mid 80s when he was back at TBS before it was the Superstation. He's been around basketball forever. And he said Norman Powell is the baby Russ Westbrook. Justin, what do you think of that one?
That's a lot. I don't necessarily understand that. I get it from a competitive fire standpoint. Personality-wise, you do see a lot of that. I think Norman Powell was a little bit more reserved, especially when he first came to Toronto. But you really do see that fire with him. Powell, totally different game. He's a shooter, a good defensive player. Neither thing Westbrook does that well, contrary to what some people believe. The way he's dominating people in Summer League is similar. But again, it's Summer League. We saw Jared Bayless be Summer League MVP. So everything kind of has to come within that context. But I think when you look from a development standpoint, a lot of these Raptors players, they don't look overmatched in Summer League. And that's the biggest thing I think you can take away is success there is good. It's not necessarily an indicator for success on the next level. But if you look overmatched, I think that's when you start to have concerns. They don't look that way. They look composed. They're trying new things. Delon Wright is also playing more composed, trying to expand his game a little bit. So I think these are all positive things if you're a Raptors fan.
Phil, looking at their draft pick, the number 9, Jakob Pöltl, I probably butchered his name right there. He's looking really great so far in the Summer League. What are you seeing out of him?
Fine. I'm sorry, guys. I jumped the gun. I will admit this right away. Listen, I still don't love him as a power forward, but he's way better than I thought he'd be.
He's supposed to be a center, I thought, right?
Yeah. No, well, because when they drafted him, they were comparing him to a Pau Gasol type that potentially could be a twin tower next to JV. I think they were trying to sell the idea because they needed a power forward so much.
Yeah.
But when I see him, and I think Justin's alluding to a great point, he does look like a center.
Yeah.
So it depends how you want to judge him. Are you asking me to judge him as a center? If that's the case, I judge him on a very high level. Got great hands and great feet, can turn over both shoulders, great passing instincts, and he doesn't rush things. One of the things I gave so much credit to Karl Anthony Towns last year, among all the other things he's capable of, is his composure. He always looks in control, viewing the situation, and Pöltl, while obviously not on the same level, I think has that natural intelligence. While I don't think he'll be able to slide to the 4 very easily, because to me he lacks a bit of strength in the upper body to be a proper center. He's still a bit weak, but as a 4. I think he's a bit slow. I like his skill set, but I wonder long term what the play is. I think he's going to become too good to be a backup center pretty quickly, especially in a league that values passing and the ability to hit free throws and shoot. And so to me, is this are they saving the idea that they may trade JV one day? I don't know.
Justin, no one has mentioned Mr. Caboclo. How many years away is he from years away?
Preach, Justin.
He was
preach.
2 years away from being 2 years away. I think he's 2 years into that, so he's 2 years away from being an NBA rotation player, I guess. The thing is with Bruno, I like the mechanics on his shot. It looks good. He does things athletically that stand out. He has those kind of highlight plays and stuff like that. But on a possession basis, he still looks a little overmatched. He looks a little out of it. He tried going behind the back once and just gave it up to a defender. There's just things that still concern me. I don't know if he's going to be an NBA rotational player. I put a poll up on Twitter the other day asking if Bruno or Anthony Bennett was going to have a better NBA career. I think you're talking about players kind of in the same category. Bennett obviously gets a lot more criticism, being under the microscope, being a number 1 overall pick. But I think both have the potential to be a rotation player. It's just, it doesn't look great. They both need to get their bodies prepared for it. They both need to mentally adjust because right now the game still looks too fast for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Phil, interesting pickup in free agency. Jared Sullinger, Sully, picked up from Boston Celtics. What do you think of the move?
I kind of think this is interesting that Justin got to answer the Bruno question. I get to answer the Sully question. I like it. I think it's a good value pick. He's only 24. He's a very hardworking, big, strong guy. I think he personally needs to lose a bit of weight to play in the modern NBA. I don't know if he's the kind of body type who can play light, though. I think he's always going to be a big guy and a little bit short for center. I don't know if I love him starting. I like him as a player at value at $6 million for 1 year. I think it was a smart pickup. Do I think he's the answer for what they need? I think what they really needed was a Serge Ibaka type player, and they've been dancing around it by drafting like Pöltl and then him and then their other draft pick who I'm blanking on the name. Siakam actually I think is going to be the answer long term at the 4. But pulling it back to your question, I think Sullinger was a great pick. I think he'll add a lot of value. But I don't see him super moving the needle. I think he replaces Scola with someone who is younger, and I just like what he does better than Scola.
Mm-hmm. Justin, is there anyone else at Summer League right now for the Raptors who will get some minutes this season?
I think Delon Wright's going to have a bit bigger role. Kind of mentioned him earlier. Mm-hmm. I was a little surprised to see Bebe not playing in Summer League.
Right.
I thought maybe he would get some time in the rotation, although now you have Jonas, you have Hurdle, you have Siakam, who's 6'10", long wingspan, might play some center. Sullinger is going to slide over to center. So I think he's going to, once again, be mostly a D-League prospect along with Bruno. Norm Powell is the guy, the biggest standout to me. Obviously, we talked a fair bit about him before, but Masai Ujiri coming into the offseason said the 2 positions that he wanted to address was the power forward position and the backup small forward position. I think Norman Powell, we saw him fill in for DeMarre Carroll while they didn't land a free agent to back up at small forward. I think Powell, they're going to count on that internal growth there. You're going to see more minutes for him, especially if Terrence Ross gets traded. Although, of course, he might get traded for a small forward, and then all of this doesn't matter. So I like the Sullinger pickup. It's good value, as Phil said. He's not going to change the world for them, but I think they would need a pretty significant player in addition to get over the Cleveland hump. So I don't think that type of player was really available when you consider they weren't in the running for an Al Horford, Kevin Durant, and so on.
Okay. Before I throw it over to Phil to wrap up, I'm going to mention something. Our good friend Will Strickland is running a tournament across Canada over the course of the summer. He's going to be in Montreal next weekend. We're going to put all the information on our Facebook. You can sign up. Basically, it's you versus the world in a game sort of like 21. There's all kinds of prizes. I think there's even some cash involved. So we'll have it on our Facebook, facebook.com/Hoops Lounge. Basketball continues to grow around this around this country and across this globe. Anyways, happy birthday, Justin. And I'll throw it back to you, Phil, to wrap up.
I'll want to echo that. Happy birthday, Mr. Justin Rowan, the biggest Cavs fan I know ever. And that's even before the bandwagon took off. For all you guys watching. I want to thank you for joining us here. If you're watching us live on Blab, please make sure to join us. We do this every week about 11:30 Eastern. And you can always join when we send out the link. You can actually sign up and comment. We can read those live on air and be happy to create the conversation. But if you want to keep the conversation going with us, Twitter is the best place. Usually, we'll put all our descriptions and handles, as the cool kids call it, in the description below. And as always, we'll catch you next time and keep it in the lounge.
See ya.